Hi, I'm Robin Dupree with Yaron Eppel, Mobideo CEO, here at BIC Magazine's headquarters in Lake City, Texas. So you'll be speaking at the Downstream Conference and Exhibition tomorrow at 2:55, discussing the digital turnaround, managing the unknown in real time. So let's chat about this and what you're going to discuss.
Great, thanks for having me here, Robin.
Thank you.
With you.
Great. One, increase real-time visibility to drive better and faster decision-making for turnarounds.
Okay, so I think first we need to ask ourselves, why do we need visibility and why is that so important in turnarounds? And I think what's unique in turnaround, that those are such dramatic events that has such a big impact on basically every aspect of an owner-operator's life, from environmental, health, safety, all the way to production and costs. And we're talking about huge events with hundreds of thousands of activities, so many moving parts, whereby you have a very, very good and detailed plan that was prepared 18 months in advance, that once the plan is completed and when you start the turnaround, we're basically at a situation whereby managers are flying blind. They're managing such a complicated event and they don't have a means today to understand what's going on, who does what, and to take action. And what I hear often from customers is that they feel that they're in a constant firefighting mode, or the term is drinking from the fire hose. And there's basically several reasons for that. One is the nature of such a event, which is very complicated, very collaborative, and involves so many activities happening together. The second is, and what I hear often customers say, is that they have, typically, they don't have a problem with making a decision once they have information. The challenge is lack of sufficient information to make a decision. So that lack of information creates a huge issue. And another issue is, when do you face the challenges? When do you have information? Typically what happens is that when you get the information, the bad information, very, very close to when you need to make a decision, it's basically hitting you in your face. It's like driving the car. If you keep a big enough distance, then you can respond more effectively. Okay, so there's a need to get information, but to get it early enough so you can respond. So what we have introduced is a concept which is we call the connected manager. And the connected manager is a new way of management, okay, that enables managers in such a complicated environment to have full control, full visibility of what's going on in their domain. It's basically a way to look in real time at what's happening. Managers are armed with a dashboard that shows them exactly what's going on, who does what, how is the work progressing, how is the work compared to the plan, how is the work compared to KPIs, to risks. So it's actually a way to enable managers with real-time visibility, situational awareness, but also to enable them to interfere, to take action, and to make sure that the entire organization that works under their responsibility is more effective and more productive by constantly comparing the performance to KPIs and to the plan, and being proactive, allocating resources, communicating with their peers, with employees, and ensuring that the whole organization is moving effectively towards what needs to be achieved.
So it's a form of communication where they can, is it real-time conversations that are happening?
Exactly, it's real-time conversation, it's real-time visibility, it's situational awareness, and it's not only communication, it's also the ability to take action, to command, to control, to change things as they happen, so that you're not only seeing what's happening, you can actually change decisions, allocate resources, and make sure that the entire organization is working much more effectively in changing conditions, because things always change and you need to adopt reality. And that's what the connected manager can do, not only see what's happening, but actually take action and make sure that the entire organization is working in the utmost effective way to meet his goals.
Okay. And explain how one can optimize shift handover and work transfer between crafts.
So shift handover meetings are a huge challenge in a turnaround. Typically, whether an owner-operator works in 2 or 3 shifts, that's a very, very complicated process of basically changing one shift with another. And that requires understanding exactly what happened during the last shift, who did what is the status, what work was completed, what work wasn't completed. And typically it takes few hours, involving many people just to gather the data and figure out what happened. That also requires, stopping the work sometimes. So that's a very, very complicated process. In a connected manager environment, you basically click on a button, one click, and you get a report that shows the managers in a very, very detailed way what happened, who did what, and what is the status. So like one of my customers like to say, in one click of a button, I get one single version of the truth. So basically the whole focus is on what needs to be done next, not trying to figure out what happened. What happened is known, it's clear. We're focusing on looking forward, not looking backwards. That's a huge difference in the way the whole shift management meetings are handled. And I think you're asked also about craft handover. Mm-hmm. So one of the unique characteristics of a turnaround is that the work is very, very collaborative. You have work which is performed by different teams, different crafts, different organizations. Let's take, for example, inspections. So you first need to put scaffolding and clean the vessel or the equipment, and then there are visual inspections and MDE tests and closeout documents. So a lot of activities and a lot of data be handed over from one person to another. Now that handling over of the data takes time, creates risks, and is a very, very problematic issue that is also affecting the fact that turnarounds are not on time. In a connected turnaround, where not only the managers are connected, also the workers are connected, employees or contractors are equipped with mobile devices, everything that they're doing is tagged, captured, sent in real time to the cloud, and the data could be immediately handed over to the next person in charge. So let's say I need to clean an equipment, and then you need to come and inspect it after me. The minute I finish, you automatically get notification, and then this whole gap between me finishing and you starting is basically disappearing, and that's how we completely collapse the lapse time between crafts who are working together.
That's really neat. Okay, how can one use digitalization to reduce spend on contractors and improve resource utilization?
Okay, Robert, that's a huge issue. I mean, that's a huge issue in turnarounds. Again, one of the phenomena of a turnaround, as an owner-operator, you operate your plant with your own team. A couple of dozen or a couple of hundred people on site. They work together, they know one another, they all adhere to the same policy, to the same processes, and you're in full control. And then imagine that once in a while, it's like a huge party, you bring in hundreds or thousands of people, contractors, you pay them, and then they do things to the equipment. They do certain things, and you don't know what they do. And then they leave, and you're basically left with a confetti on the floor, and you need to clean the mess after the party. So management of contractors is very, very challenging. I've found it to be one of the biggest, not only challenges, but also inherent risks in a turnaround, because there's so many inherent conflicts which are very difficult to manage. Now, one of the biggest benefits of being a connected manager, that you get full control not only of the activities, you get full and detailed visibility into what the contractors are doing. So you can see exactly who's doing what and how the tasks are progressing, and you can benchmark teams, benchmark contractors, get much more detailed visibility. There's no issue with contractors not letting you know what's happening or sandbagging you for information. You're in full control. Robin, many of our customers were able to gain as much as 30% reduction on contractor spending. For example, by mobiling contractors later into the site and demobilizing them earlier. So you're basically getting rid of hidden unemployment and getting much more control. And some of our customers even took it a step further and was able to use that data in order to renegotiate their terms with their contractors and use the visibility so that when preparing towards the next turnaround, they were able to, come up with terms which were more favorable for them based on the data that they now own. So in the new digital world, data is the king. If you have data, you're in control. An owner-operator, which is digitalized, has ownership over the data and has better control over his relationship with his contractor, and that's key to many things.
Yeah, and then doing the right things with that data.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, what methods can improve turnaround planning with granular data capture and analysis?
Okay, another good question. As part of a digital turnaround execution, as workers are working, they leave behind them a trail of data, which is then captured and tagged and analyzed. So what happens is that, imagine that when the turnaround is completed, what you have is actually a trail of data that enables you to understand exactly who did what. You could use that data in order to identify trends, identify patterns, and then look back at the data set and really plan ahead much better. So if you have invested 18 months of planning, and that planning was based on assumptions, and then those assumptions are challenged with reality, now you measure reality, you benchmark reality, you have reality's data, so when you plan ahead towards the next turnaround, it's not based on assumption. It's based on hard data, hard facts, how you work, how your contractors work, and that enables you to have a plan which is much more accurate, much more precise, and again, that's another step in the way to make sure that you are not only on time and on budget, you're actually doing much better than that.
On budget is key, right? On time and on budget.
And more than that. And more than that. I mean, we have examples of customers that were able not only to be on time and on budget, but actually were able to get to production much faster and to make more revenue. I'll give an example. We just finished a very big project, actually not far from where we're sitting here right now. One of the biggest owner-operators that finished a turnaround for one of his units, and he was able to finish ahead of time, okay? So when they compared the data for that unit with a sister unit that was done a year ago, the previous one wasn't on time. Here they were able to finish a week earlier, and that resulted in a $6 million production increase, okay, due to $2 million per day times 3 days. So not being on time is obviously an issue, but when you're on time, when you're ahead of time, you're back to production faster, and that directly affects the top line in your P&L. That's key.
That is a huge number.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about an industry that deals with big numbers, and any small change makes a huge impact, and that's why embracing digitalization in that industry is so important, because it directly affects the bottom line and has a huge impact on basically every aspect of the business. And I can tell you what I think that the potential for completely changing the P&L of companies in oil and gas and petrochemical companies is by far greater than many other industries, just because of the nature of the economics of that industry. The fact that not only that we're talking about big numbers, we're talking about an industry which hasn't really changed the way in which it's operating in many, many years. And digitalization enables that continuous process improvement, and this is very, very beneficial.
That leads into my next question. Big data, advanced analytics, and the Internet of Things are phrases that are very popular and continue to be thrown around, but do you think the industry is embracing digitalization?
Okay, so yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords being thrown out there, and I'm not sure that everybody fully understands the buzzwords that are thrown and what really is digitalization. And the way I see it, digitalization is all about using existing off-the-shelf technology in order to gain a competitive advantage. It's basically it. I mean, it's basically using technology to change the rules of the game to be in your favor. And what's unique today in 2018 is that we have several underlying enabling technologies, such as the ones you've mentioned, cloud, big data, IoT, and others, that have reached maturity. They're available off the shelf at low prices, what Gartner calls the nexus of forces. And digitalization means that you are now able, as a operator or owner operator, to embrace them together in order to revolutionize the way you do business. So that's, in my view, digitalization, and it really holds amazing opportunities to gain a new way of working and improve processes, such as we discussed earlier. So I think that it's important to understand, what it is, and to start a journey, which is a gradual journey in adopting such technologies, because in my view, the train has left the station. Yeah. Companies are doing it, your competitors are doing it, and in order to stay in the game, you need to embrace digitalization. Otherwise, you'll be facing serious problems as an owner operator. And we see that adoption in the market. We definitely see that companies around here in the Gulf of Mexico are embracing such technologies and are getting significant benefits.
And they need to embrace it now versus later, because it's just more data is going to be collected and they're not doing anything to.
Exactly.
They're not utilizing it.
Exactly. And I think rather than waiting for something big to happen, like a big bang in revolutionizing it, you need to realize that it's available, you could use it, and you just need to start your journey. Yeah. And what we see is that owner-operators that are leading the process are taking an agile approach. They don't try to, what I call, boil the ocean, but they take a gradual approach. They take one turnaround, one piece of a turnaround, could be inspection, could be PSSR, could be wells management, and they just start the journey. See the value, and then they constantly add more and more capabilities. And one of the biggest differences in the technology which is available today is the cloud. Yeah. Because what cloud enables is actually not to be dependent on your IT organization. If up until 2 years ago, an owner-operator was completely dependent on the IT organization that sat somewhere in the headquarters. Today, the actual business people can embrace that easily because cloud is available and actually removed many stumbling blocks or issues in going digital. And that's key. So it's here, the train has left the station, and I highly recommend joining the community and other colleagues and companies in an agile process to start a journey.
Okay, what about that the industry is posed for a second digital age that could further reduce costs, kind of like you have been mentioning, unleash unparalleled productivity, and boost performance significantly? Do you agree, and do you think companies are making better use of existing technology?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. It goes directly to what we discussed earlier. I mean, the technology is available. It's mature. We see that it directly affects the bottom line in almost all aspects, making employees and contractors more safe, making them more productive, increasing range time, improving communication between different teams and crafts, and most important, making managers in control, connected, and fully visible into what's going on. And again, in such challenging projects, mega projects such as turnarounds, this is key. This is key, and I think the industry realizes it. And as I said earlier, the train has left the station. You need to be on the train.
Okay, give me an example of how to best react in real time with real information using your product.
So, it relates to everything that is happening in a turnaround, and basically every activity in a turnaround requires real-time information and real-time intervention and real-time visibility. But I'll tell you a customer story. It's funny. Most of our US customers would not allow us to, give our names, which is interesting. So I'll use a European customer, which is more open in enabling us to use the name. This is Paz Refinery, one of the most profitable refineries in Europe. And they had a turnaround in late 2017 that started with literally every Murphy law possible appearing. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong, right? From a strike at the port that did not enable the equipment to arrive, to contractors not showing up, to the union who opened the strike because they felt that that's a good timing for them. And the leadership of that refinery, Paz Refinery, knew that they are not going to meet time and schedule, and they actually were already reporting we will go to production later than expected. They embraced our technology. They used the connected manager capabilities, and what that enabled them is to see exactly how the work is progressing and to monitor that. To constantly focus on the critical path in a turnaround, to constantly zero in into the bottlenecks and make real-time decisions that enable them to open one bottleneck, one pan of the valve of the issue to resolve them. And that resulted in them completely collapsing the Gantt chart and being on time. So in that project, they reported that they were able to save $4 million, okay, by removing 5 days times $800,000 per day. So what we're talking is not technology which is nice to have. This is a must-have technology that has a direct impact on all aspects of the business, both the top line and the bottom line.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And like I said earlier, you will be speaking at this conference tomorrow. So what are your thoughts about Downstream, the Downstream conference and exhibition? Are you excited?
I'm really excited. I'm really excited and I'm happy to be here. It seems like a great conference. It seems like one which is very, very well organized. And it seems like one that really is focused on developments, on technologies, on empowering owner operators with new tools and technologies to perform better. And it seems like, there would be the right people, a combination of customers, contractors, technology suppliers, and industry experts. So I'm, honored and privileged to speak. I'm happy to be there tomorrow and to meet customers and friends. And yeah, very excited.
Great, thank you. We're looking forward to hearing you speak again.
Thank you.
Good. I had a little
Okay.
my SD card was not working. Would y'all mind doing like the opening and the first question again? Splice that in.
It was really good.
It was. I was super excited.
Okay, so you need the opener and the first question.
You know my nose?
Yeah,
Oops. That's
the
okay.
live portion went very well.
Yeah, you had a
Anyone
couple.
listen?
Yeah,
Anyone
there were
listen?
4 people live. I saw. Yeah.
I mean, my mouth is sleeping
All
now.
15
Yeah.
people in the office
Your
were
mom's
invited.
sleeping. I'll send it to her. Don't worry. Yaron's mom is our biggest fan. I always get fan mail from her.
Yes, same here. My parents don't understand what I do, but
They like it
cheer
all.
me on very loudly and from the sidelines.
Yaron's mom is on our email list, so she'll like respond back to the email blast like, "This is great," and I'm like, "Thank you." Spent a lot of time on that. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. I wish you had a refinery.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want. She would have been a great customer.
So you need the first question repeated in its entirety?
I would do the opening again and the first question, yes.
What was
And
the
maybe the last question as well,
Really?
the downstream one. Yeah, I touched a part of the screen and it like zoomed in on the table. But
Okay.
other than that, everything is great.
Okay. Sorry, do you mind repeating the
No.
question again?
The live portion's done.
Yeah.
She just needs it for the other video she's gonna do, where she's
Just
gonna.
remind you first, can you read it again?
How can one increase real-time visibility to drive better and faster decision-making for turnarounds? All right, got it?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna do the whole opening act again.
Yep, pretend it never happened.
It's Robin, right?
It's gonna be perfection for sure though.
Okay. Hi, I'm Robin Dupree with Yaron Eppel, Mobideo CEO, here at BIC Magazine's headquarters in Lake City, Texas. So you'll be speaking at the Downstream Conference and Exhibition tomorrow at 2:55, discussing the digital turnaround, managing the unknown in real time. So let's chat about this and what you're going to discuss.
Great, thanks for having me here, Robin.
Thank
Pleasure
you.
being with you.
Great. How can one increase real-time visibility to drive better and faster decision-making for turnarounds?
Okay, so I think first we need to ask ourselves, why do we need visibility and why is that so important in turnarounds? And I think what's unique in turnarounds, that those are such dramatic events that has such a big impact on basically every aspect of an owner operator's life, from environmental, health, safety, all the way to production and costs. And we're talking about huge events with hundreds of thousands of activities, so many moving parts, whereby you have a very, very good and detailed plan that was prepared 18 months in advance, that once the plan is completed and when you start the turnaround, we're basically at a situation whereby managers are flying blind. They're managing such a complicated event and they don't have a means today to understand what's going on, who does what, and to take action. And what I hear often from customers is that they feel that they're in a constant firefighting mode, or the term is drinking from the fire hose. And there's basically several reasons for that. One is the nature of such a event, which is very complicated, very collaborative, and involves so many activities happening together. The second is, and what I hear often customers say, is that they have typically, they don't have a problem with making a decision once they have information. The challenge is lack of sufficient information to make a decision. So that lack of information creates a huge issue. And another issue is, when do you face the challenges? When do you have information? Typically what happens is that when you get the information, the bad information, very, very close to when you need to make a decision, it's basically hitting you in your face. It's like driving the car. If you keep a big enough distance, then you can respond more effectively. Okay, so there's a need to get information, but to get it early enough so you can respond. So what we have introduced is a concept which is we call the connected manager. And the connected manager is a new way of management, okay, that enables managers in such a complicated environment to have full control, full visibility of what's going on in their domain. It's basically a way to look in real time at what's happening. Managers are armed with a dashboard that shows them exactly what's going on, who does what, how is the work progressing, how is the work compared to the plan, how is the work compared to KPIs, to risks. So it's actually a way to enable managers with real-time visibility, situational awareness, but also to enable them to interfere, to take action, and to make sure that the entire organization that works under their responsibility is more effective and more productive by constantly comparing the performance to KPIs and to the plan, and being proactive, allocating resources, communicating with their peers, with employees, and ensuring that the whole organization is moving effectively towards what needs to be achieved.